Okay, properly now the business end of the Super 12s, where defeat would mean virtual knockouts from the race to the semi-finals. Afghanistan and Sri Lanka will face such a test on the what is the first game on a Tuesday morning, and the last set of games at the Gabba. They sit at the foot of the points table of Group 1 in in that situation, in that group, which sees Australia now occupy second place. Big game between New Zealand and England to follow today. But we build up to Sri Lanka versus Afghanistan. First up on Maruti Suzuki presents ESPN Cricket for T20 timeouts. Very good morning to Robin Uthappa and Tom Moody. I've gotten used to these hours now. And you are still on Australian hours?
No, I was never on Australian hours. I was always on Indian time. Even there, I was sleeping at like 5:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. So I'm fine.
Excellent. The ICC commitments that you had there were quite comfortable, I must say.
Very, very comfortable.
It's morning to Tom Moody. This is a different sort of vibe to the tournament now as well, Tom, where now it's do or die games for pretty much everybody.
Yeah, look, absolutely. Critical, particularly given that the rain that the teams have had, they've sort of hadn't had a chance to, either try to cause upsets or, at least, bank some points. So, critical that we've got, looks like we've got sunshine in Adelaide and we get some cricket in.
Yeah, absolutely. And Afghanistan and Sri Lanka is the game that we're focusing on. Afghanistan have finally got out to getting a toss at least done. They've had to sit out for 2 games. The rain has followed them around Australia, and as a result, they've just played the 1 game in spite of the tournament being going on for almost 11 days now. Farveez Maharoof, though, is a changed man. He is still banking on Sri Lanka's chances, but he's banking on it with the colour of blue now. Farveez, good morning. You've changed your colours. I'm sure there's a reason for it.
Yeah, the yellow had to go. Yellow had to go. 2 defeats in 2 different games. I just had the feeling I just need to take it down. The Asia Cup, it was put to good to use, but now time is to go for the yellow. So all important game. Morning, gents. Robin, Tom.
Morning.
Yeah, sun is out in Brisbane. Wonderful to see. And I heard it last night rained so hard. I spoke to Sanat Jayasuri, who's in Brisbane, and he said it was raining so hard yesterday. They were even doubting whether their game will on. And luckily for Sri Lanka and Afghanistan, the sun is out and we could witness a good game.
All right. Yes, we're getting an on-time start. Don't go by these weather forecasts. Now let's just hope we don't have to talk about the weather at all from now till the end of the tournament. But Afghanistan have won a toss here, and Mohammad Nabi's decided they're going to have a bat first. Australia putting on 179 yesterday against Ireland. Bangladesh winning against Zimbabwe too, batting first, though just about, in a game where there was plenty that happened towards the end. So I guess this is conventional wisdom. Mohammad Nabi references a used surface. Tom, you tend to make fun of me when I talk about pitches slowing down at Perth. But is there some merit in calling a used surface at the Gabba?
No. Maybe day 5 of a test match.
Yeah.
You might see the spinners enjoy something, but we're only talking T20 cricket. So. Hardly any traffic are on these surfaces. Yeah, look, it may be marginally slow, but I think it's just going to be a very good, still a very good batting surface.
Yeah, it does seem like batting first is the way to go here in this tournament. When in doubt, just bat first, unlike the last year in the UAE.
Yeah, it has been, and also because I think of the size of the grounds isn't coming back to that point all over again, but I think it just keeps the bowlers in the game. It becomes a lot more even Stevens when you have the grounds that are this big. So you know that even if you can put up 150, 160, you can really fight for a victory there.
This is a very different kind of game though, Tom. Not too many games where we could very well have 20 overs potentially in the whole game out of 40 of spin and high quality spin. What sort of dynamic does this play into for this game? Because it's rare to see that.
Yeah, it is rare to see it, but it's quality spin that we're going to be watching, which I think is great. And we go right back to the beginning of T20 cricket when it first evolved. Everyone was concerned about the spinners, and particularly the wrist spinners. People thought, oh gosh, these guys are going to be played out of the game. But as it's turned out over the last 15 to 20 years that we've had T20 cricket, that they've become the critical component to your team. They're the wicket takers. So we're going to be spoilt today with some world-class spin. And spinners that have, particularly on the Afghanistan side, have experienced bowling at the Gabba. So they'll know the dimensions there. They'll know that they can play to the square side. There's one slightly shorter side, I believe, but that's not a major issue. But it's a good point that Robin brings up about the size of the grounds. I don't think too many teams have yet really mastered maybe New Zealand, not just because they've won, but how to play on the bigger grounds. There's just a lot more running required. You can't just stand and deliver. You can still get the big totals, but you just got to do a bit more running.
Yeah. Well, as it turns out, New Zealand, I think, have played 2 games at Sydney. Had to wait for their washout at Melbourne. A lot of other teams have moved around, and we have seen those big grounds play a part in key moments in these games. Sri Lanka have made a change in what's an important game for them, and it's a return for Pramod Madushan. Kastan Rajitha keeps his place after an impressive first game in the last one, but Farveez, no room for Chamika Karunaratne. Take me through that change.
It's a big call. It's a wise call. I mean, looking at the form of Chamika Karunaratne, especially with the ball, he has not been delivering. So this discussion was on for a while now, whether Sri Lanka can go into the World Cup with 5 bowlers, especially when I say World Cup to the second round, since Chamika was not in his normal good form with the ball. So I think it's a tough decision to make, especially Chamika brings you that energy in the field. He brings you that, steady in the number 8 position while batting. But I think it's a call that has been appealing for a while, and I think it's a strong call. And hopefully Sri Lanka could use Pramod Madushan very well, since he got a good slow ball, day game, plenty of bounce offers at Brisbane. So he'll be a handful. And also Kastan Rajitha with the new ball, we saw how he swung the ball against New Zealand, but it's overall different conditions. So it's very important. Very important. The top bowler does the job, especially when you're chasing, when you don't have a batter who's not going to bat you at number 8.
I mean, it's a unique call for a team to make, Tom, that's actually been struggling with their batting. Failed to get anywhere near the 150 or 160 mark with Australia. They chased it down easily at Perth. Against New Zealand in pursuit of 167, bowled out for 102. And technically, the change you've made is lightening your batting a bit.
Yeah, but to be honest with you, if you're going into a contest thinking your number 8 batsman is going to be the difference between you winning and losing a game, I think you've got the wrong mindset. I think your engine room, being your top 5 in T20 cricket, are the ones that really need to set the tone and bat at least 80 to 85% of the deliveries on offer. That's the template you've got to have, and you've got to also be bankable for the 120 balls from a bowling perspective. You've got to have a great defensive balance, but also attacking balance. Sri Lanka have got that attacking balance with regards to wicket takers, but they obviously needed to just shore up that defensive side of their bowling. So I can understand the decision. It's time for their top order to step up.
Now, the opening combination, Nissanka and Mendes, it's almost like it's this web series that has a very different theme to it in 3 different seasons. Season 1, Robin Mee discussed during the Asia Cup along with Farveez, where they were struggling. They put these 2 together, put the 2 right-handers, put Gunatilaka down. These are just their last 5 innings. They've had 2 steady ones and 3 poor ones. Then suddenly towards the end of the Asia Cup, as Sri Lanka were doing really well, these 2 were awesome. Now we've come to the World Cup, which is not soon after, and again there seems to be some scratchy form at the top. Trying to make sense of that, Robbie, as an opening bat, where you like batting with one guy, but that consistency just isn't coming.
Well, yeah, I think one of the things that they've probably not gotten completely right is how they want to go about that first 6 overs, and I think this is again the mindset of being ultra aggressive, right? And I'm all for it, but again, you got to assess the conditions, the ground size. Is it conducive enough to be able to do that? You should be able to get in a little bit before going after the bowlers. And I don't think they're giving themselves enough time to just kind of assess the conditions a little bit and then go after it. There's no information at hand, because there's a lot of information a batsman can pick up when they play the first couple of overs on a wicket. So, and then you assess and you see, okay, based on these bowlers, these are my areas of attack. This is where I'm going to look to attack. Then you can make those decisions on the pitch, but you need to give yourself that opportunity to be there long enough to be able to make those decisions. And I don't think they've been doing that. And I think that's the reason of the inconsistency.
Farveez, you want to just take me through perhaps how much Sri Lanka depend on Mendes and Pathum Nissanka at the top? They've got a lot of firepower after, but somehow it seems like if one of these 2, if not both, play at least a significant role or a role deep into the innings, then they really seem to struggle.
Yeah, only game these 2 openers didn't play together was the Ireland game, where Pathum Nissanka was rested. And the 5 games you just showed in the graphic, it just clearly shows the 2 games Sri Lanka won against UAE and Netherlands. Both the players have put up a partnership of double digits. That's 42 against UAE, 36 against Netherlands, and both the games Sri Lanka won. Look at the rest 3, Namibia, Australia, and New Zealand. I mean, almost single digit in the Namibian game, and Sri Lanka lost those games. So that goes to show how important these two players for Sri Lanka. And when they won, one of these batters had at least have to have had bat 17 to 16 overs, or maybe the 20 overs. That's where Sri Lanka stands a very good chance of winning the game. So, if Sri Lanka to go any further in this tournament, Afghanistan game, the England game, and hopefully all the other results work for Sri Lanka. I think these two batters, one of them in any game, will have to bat at least the 16th, 17th over, in my opinion.
All right. Well, Kushal Mendis is a big player for them. He's got something unique for an opening bat. You have some that we know over time in T20 cricket that have enjoyed playing spin, maybe even more than they enjoy the pace on the ball. Gaurav Sundararaman digs in deep on Kushal Mendis' ability against spin and a potential weakness against pace.
Thanks, Raunak. I was looking at Kusal Mendis. He's had a prolific year and we saw what he did in the Asia Cup. He's sent out as an opener and has done extremely well this time. However, when I'm looking at his numbers, for the particular opening batter, very interesting to see a pattern. He's been very weak against pace and very strong against spin. He averages just 23 against pace, but he averages close to 70 against spin, which is very, very rare for an opener. Next, when you go and look at the type of bowlers, against right arm pacers especially, he has the least average. So for an opener and for a test player, why is Kusal Mendis struggling so much against pace, and why is his average so low, especially against right arm pace? I just wanted to ask the panel, is it a technical issue or it's more a mental issue?
Okay, went and picked up one of them fancy blue ESPN Cricket Info t-shirts as well, GS. So let's go to Farveez. Back to Farveez. Could you answer Gaurav's question? Farveez, Mendis against right arm pace?
Myself being a shady batsman, I'm going to talk about a top order batsman now.
Go for it,
Farveez have this.
You should know, Farveez, I tell all the bowlers on my show this, batters do not hesitate one bit before slamming bowlers on this show. So don't ever feel like you are not qualified to speak on batting. Please go on.
Right. On a serious note, yes, there is a technical fault just outside the off stump. I mean, right throughout his career, he has been found wanted most of the time. But if you take his stats even deeper, what I've learned is if he gets through the first 2-3 overs, unshaved with a new ball against the fast bowlers, then that's where he's going to be dangerous. So the first 2-3 overs, most of the time, if he's struggling a bit and the team is on top of you and the right arm fast bowler just taking it away from the fourth and fifth off stump, I think that's where Kusal has struggled. And also, I completely agree with GS whether he could bat in the middle order. I mean, he definitely could bat in the middle order, but stats also shows when Kusal Mendis goes and scores big runs for Sri Lanka, opening the batting, I think most of the time Sri Lanka wins as well. So it's a bit of a 50-50 call what the selectors and the management have taken, and I completely feel that he should open if he's playing, and that's the best chance of Sri Lanka winning the games.
Yes, Tom.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear your opinion, Maha. Who would be another alternative to open the batting that is a better option if you're moving into the middle, that is?
Yeah,
I was going to ask you about Gunatilaka. I was going to ask you about him because being a left-hander but also more of an aggressive player, surely that's a better option for Sri Lanka to consider, and then they could move Mendis into the middle and he could master the spin overs in the middle of the game.
I mean, so for a certain reason, before the Asia Cup, Think Tank bought Dhanush Guntilaka at number 4, which he struggled clearly in the Asia Cup. I remember he just scored a 29 against Afghanistan in Sharjah. But apart from that, he was just lost because he didn't know what role to play because entire life he has been opening the batting. So it was a strong call by the selectors and the think tank to bring at number 4. If you ask me, I do not agree because if he can't find a place in the top order, I feel it should be a suitable middle order should be playing. And also with Kusal Mendis, for a certain extent, I do agree with you as well. Sometimes, it is stats been so heavy towards spin bowling, you rather use him in the middle overs to play spin. But most of the time when Sri Lankan won, he has been opening the batting, starting from the Nidas Trophy. So a bit of a 50-50 call. Selectors have gone, this route. It's going to be interesting to see if Sri Lanka knocks out of the World Cup. After the World Cup, what they're going to, what they're going to do with Mendis, whether he's going to be opening the batting in the middle or going into the batting in the middle order.
Well, the interesting thing, the way I look at it is, you look at Patul Nasanka, and I think he is going to be the real future of Sri Lankan cricket in all formats. Yeah, he's finding his way with his strike rate in T20 cricket at the moment. But what would complement him at the moment with that strike rate is having Tilaka at the top of the order, someone that's a natural stroke player, and it just sort of help a little bit with that sort of a pattern of a slower start. But anyway, we're not selectors.
No, but I think it's an interesting chat to talk to an opener who obviously fancies himself opening, to say, you know what, we'd rather have Dhanushka up and you play spin well, so why don't you bat 5? I'm not sure a lot of openers are receptive to that.
I completely agree. So if someone's opened the batting his entire life, throwing him at number 4 is going to be an extremely challenging task for him to kind of accomplish and succeed at. Because it's a very different batting position. The situations that you go into bat are unlike what you normally get when you open the batting. So the pressures itself are different and they're very foreign to an opening batsman. So the whole mindset itself is a massive issue to overcome. So how are they going to navigate through that? But if you have a natural opener there, and then it's just about swapping positions. I would love to know why that decision was made in the first place, as to why Mendes is opening and Gunathilaka.
Something just tells me they like each other. They genuinely do. Together they play well. Their best numbers are up top together. They've defied the left-hand, right-hand combination. Somehow Nissanka and Mendes have brokered this for themselves, and it seems to be the way to go. Shridhar, could you answer Farveez's question? Could you answer Robin's question, Farveez?
Yeah, I think I agree with both of what Tom and Robin said. I mean, all your life you open the batting. All of a sudden, big tournament in Asia Cup, asked to bat in the middle order. I mean, he was lost for a while, and also breaking a partnership of Pathum and Kusal Mendes, who have done decently well, though the numbers aren't the greatest for Kusal. I mean, yes, Pathum Nissanka is a real deal in all 3 formats. I completely agree there, but I will still go Kusal Mendes opening the batting, though his numbers are not good. I will still give him time, because he'll be the real deal after Pathum Nissanka in the top order. And Dhanushka Gunathilaka, for me, yes, he's a fantastic player, brings in that energy in the field. But if he can't bat in the top 4 and the top 3 at the moment, Dhananjay Silla is batting at number 3. I mean, I can't see him finding a place in the middle order, because you have Charit Asalanka who's batting really well. Bhanukan Dasin has been occupying that number 5 and 6 for a while. Inconsistent, but you still back them to come good. So I reckon it's about making the strong calls, as they did against Chamik Karunaratne today. Sometimes you got to make it whether the player will like it or not.
All right, we'll leave it there. We're already looking at the future of Sri Lankan cricket sort of discussion. Dhanushka Gunathilaka, of course, injured in that first round. They've had to do without his services in the Super 12s. But keep an eye out on Sri Lanka's batting. If it doesn't stand up in these last couple of games, if they drop points against Afghanistan, you think there would be a more scathing review of this team in the post-mortem of the World Cup. Let's focus on Afghanistan though, and they are no light threat. There is of course a change. Gulbuddin Nayyab, who captained them in the ODI format, has been around the circuit for a long time, was drafted in as a replacement, as Hazratullah Zazai has been injured and ruled out of the World Cup. So it looks like Usman Ghani or Ibrahim Zadran may open. Who knows, maybe they won't change much and Gulbuddin might open, but that is the only change made to Afghanistan's playing 11. We do put our focus on the spinners though. We wanted to see Rashid Khan and Mujib bowl in these grounds in Australia. They have the experience of playing in the Big Bash. Unfortunately, for 2 games, Afghanistan haven't been able to take the field. But if you look at Rashid's numbers in all T20 cricket, he's got some terrific numbers in Australia. That's the best strike rate that he's got in comparison to any other country. It's a good sample size too, with 62 innings and 93 wickets. However, just to balance that out a bit, if there's a team that Rashid Khan struggles against, it is Sri Lanka. Curiously, as an average of 39, it's only the 3 innings in T20Is. They don't play a lot of cricket, it seems, together, but you could take some heart in that if you're a fan of Sri Lanka, that Rashid doesn't do so well against you. There is some merit to Rashid Khan, Tom and Mujib having the experience of playing at these grounds. They've learned at times, we're still thinking whether some spinners are quite using the big grounds to their advantage or getting the most out of it. We're not talking about spinners at all creating an impact. It's different for Rashid than Mujib?
Yeah, look, I think it's not only the size of the grounds, but it's the pitches and the bounce and the pace. We saw Hasaranga at Perth Stadium get his length wrong. And that's purely just because he hasn't experienced bowling on a surface like that before, where the example we're talking about, Mujib and Rashid, both have had enormous experience in Australia, know exactly the length they need to bowl. Interesting enough, the numbers you pulled up there against Sri Lanka, Rashid Khan's only played the 3 games, but I look more at the economy as well. It looks like, strategically, Sri Lanka have thought, we'll sit on him because it was an economy rate of 6.5, which is still very, very respectable. So, a lot of teams sort of have that strategy against your mystery spinners, as in we'll sit on those 24 balls. If we can get run a ball and get out of those 24 balls without losing wickets, we can tick that box. So big advantage certainly for you've got to add Muhammad Nabi in that list of spinners too, because he's bowled a lot of overs in Big Bash cricket for mainly Melbourne Renegades. So they definitely have the advantage of understanding what length to bowl, what line to bowl, and what pace to bowl on these surfaces.
Yeah, Mujib has of course played for the Brisbane Heat in the past. As we look at where he is effective in T20 eyes, he remains the go-to bowler in the power play, usually finishes his quota between over 7 and 15 as well. Those are pretty good numbers if you're Mujibur Rahman. What makes him, if you could go deeper into Mujib's effectiveness at Brisbane specifically, Tom, who of course Mujib's had up and down seasons in the last few years in the IPL?
Yeah, I think his IPL numbers are more to do with opportunity. I think if he played every game, I think his numbers would be extremely good. And speaking to we're sitting next to someone that's played him plenty of times in Robin. But I think his strength at the Gabba, to answer your question, is bounce. The surface there does bounce. He understands the length he needs to bowl. So what he does, he hits the stickers, basically, the top half of your bat. So therefore, it's very hard to hit him down the ground. And we know, and we've talked about many times, how big it is square of the wicket. So, and he's not the easiest bowler to sweep.
Agreed.
Would that be fair?
I think if you ask a spinner what would he prefer on a wicket, turn or bounce, he'd choose bounce every day of the week. Because I think they have enough faith in their abilities to turn the ball. If that little bounce that they get, that's the difference between hitting the middle and hitting the top of the bat, right? And that goes a long way for spinners. And I think what makes them really dangerous again is the bounce on these wickets and also the size, right? And then also the fact that they're slightly mysterious with what they do with their skills. So just the combination of it all makes them has made them extremely successful here in Australia. And in that same vein, the Sri Lankan spinners haven't really played too much here. And I think someone like Tikshana would really enjoy these wickets and be very successful on these wickets. And
he already has had an excellent start to the tournament. Has Mahesh Tikshana, standout bowler for Sri Lanka. You think outbowling Hasaranga, outbowling pretty much most spinners so far. Maybe Shadab Khan being an exception. But they've been very good. He's been very good as Mahesh Tikshana. Right, players already out on the field. Afghanistan batting first. Australia got 179 yesterday. That was more than enough against Ireland. Bangladesh got their way to 150, which proved to just be enough against Zimbabwe. So let's get a first innings prediction. Robin?
165.
165, and that should put Afghanistan in the advantage, or?
Yeah, it should.
Yeah. I mean, are you picking a favourite here today?
Well, honestly, my favourites I think for this game would be Sri Lanka, because I feel they have a better batting side than Afghanistan do. But I think Afghanistan need their batting to step up if they're going to have a chance to win this game, because their batting hasn't stepped up. As in, I think their top order, I think a lot is dependent on how Gurbaz comes off for them, Zardan comes off for them, and I think the other guys in the top order need to kind of step up for them. 165,
most teams would take 165, Tom,
absolutely.
batting first.
Yeah, no, I'm not going there. I'm 147.
147?
Yeah.
It's always nice.
I'm like, guys, we're here the whole day. Might as well make a match out of this thing.
Yeah.
Two interesting games.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't need to justify your prediction to him. It's fine. Yeah. 165 and 147. Farveez.
Right, I'm going to go in the middle. So I'm going to get 156, and Gurbaz to Sri Lanka to win. They need to get rid of Gurbaz ASAP and restrict it to 156.
Okay, so Farveez is backing Sri Lanka to, firstly backing Afghanistan to get over 150, but he also thinks Sri Lanka should be able to chase that down. Right, 150 should make for a good game here if you get Rashid and Mujib and co involved in the second innings. So let's hope they get somewhere close to that, and we will pick up the chat with Farveez, Maharoof, Tom, Moody and Robin Uthappa on Maruti Suzuki presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout. And of course, before I leave you, please go and check out the all-new Cricket Foverse with Grand Vitara. It's the fans' newest destination where you can build your own avatar, interact with other cricket fans, get a virtual tour of the Cricket Info studios and a sneak peek at the advanced Grand Vitara from Maruti Suzuki. Visit the Cricket Foverse tab on your ESPN Cricket Info app for more. Pick up the chat at the end of the Afghanistan innings, so please do join us then. Bye-bye.